Welcome back to the Authentic Human podcast, where we explore creation, existence, evolution, and consciousness through conversations with universal beings. Hi, I'm Michelle Vickers, and this is part 112 of the story of creation. I giggle because, well, we're at 112 already, and it's been going for over a year, and it's fascinating. So let's see. I feel like we have a couple different, well, there's different universal beings here today for sure. We've definitely got some angelics, but there's also, it's interesting. There's some beings I'm not familiar with. It's funny. They're like masses of rock. Um, it's interesting. Oh, they're like, that's how I'm seeing them as masses of rock. But they're not like earth primal rock. It's like, it's interesting. It feels like, yeah, okay. So now I know I've been shaking before we started this call. Okay. So we're gonna start to reveal more of the truth of how society was created. Okay. And this is important because society is very different from creation, right? So society is social norms, it is acceptance. The whole concept of acceptance was created within the concept of society. Okay. And so these beings, it's very interesting. They're very basic, and they're not from this universe. So, okay, I'm uncomfortable because of the energy that is coming from them. They are literally here to hold the space, hold the energy of the misrepresentation of universal existence. And that's, I'm actually a little bit nauseous because their energy is so in opposition of the universe that we were created in. And these are the beings who founded the concept of society. And inside the concept of society, that's where you find religion, that's where you find the financial system, that's where you find the medical system, the education system, government systems. They're all inside of this societal energy, okay? It is not primal universal energy. It is basic. It's very basic. And they're laughing at me because they're like, look what our basic energy accomplished. Like, look what it did. They wouldn't use the word accomplish because, again, it's a more basic. It's look what our energy could do. And they're like, it's kind of like the evil villain in the movie that you're watching. And that's where we are currently as a human race. Is this truth is now ready to be revealed. It's now ready to come out of hiding. And these beings, okay, it's funny. It's like they're hiding in a cave. And now it's the way the creator's like, we're just going to take the roof off the entire cave so that they can't hide anymore. It's like, it's like an anthill, right? And, these ants have built this entire city inside, and all you have to do is, swipe across the top and it creates havoc, but you haven't touched inside. And so what the creator's saying is he's just going to remove the roof entirely so that every human can look inside. And that's what today is going to be about. And that they're showing me, that's what the next few parts of the story are going to be about, is understanding and recognizing the level of control and manipulation from the inside of how it was created. Okay. Because there's a part of you that needs to know, that needs to understand how this manipulation was created, because there's a lot of people who genuinely believe that, and the creator is saying this, that genuinely believe that I, as the creator, why would I let this happen? Why would, how could this be? It must be from me. And he's saying, no, it doesn't work that way. That's not how creation works. So, yeah, it's really interesting. The creator he's very, he's done. Like he's showing me, when you put your hand down on the table and then you swipe it across and remove everything that doesn't belong there. That's his energy for this experience. And so I know that this may sound a little crazy if you're only listening with your head, but I feel like those of you are like, yep, I understand everything. I understand exactly what you're saying, because you're also feeling the energy, because you've been waiting for this. It's the way they're showing me. It's like the light is returning, and light as in like the awareness of existence is returning. And this is what you've been waiting for. This is why you incarnated right now. This is all of it. And so we now know that we've been working behind the scenes to create stability. And that's really what the creator's showing me is, 80 to 90 years, right? The last 80 to 90 years have been about creating stability for humanity to step into this level of truth. Why? Because if this level of truth was revealed 80 or 90 years ago, it would have been rejected. It would have been, stomped on, and it would have been manipulated. Exactly like it was when Jesus came to trigger and with his intention to bring more awareness and return humanity back to truth. Humanity wasn't ready. Why? Because our capacity to feel truth, to understand truth, and to even hear truth, right? After so many years, right? This is like 50,000 years. So this isn't one generation. This isn't two. This isn't, 10 generations. This is thousands of generations. Okay. And so when you come back from that place, here's the thing. Jesus was the leader, right, of that exploration. And when he came back into universal form, the entire universe went, okay, we have to shift. We have to shift gears, and we have to create a plan that ensures humans are ready for truth. So that's what's been going on. And that's what's been going on since Jesus left. Okay. He did not die on a cross, just so we're all very clear. But since Jesus left, that's what's been going on. Now, in these revelations of truth, we have a lot of people sharing perspectives. But again, perspectives are not truth. They are your personal experience and your personal way of looking at something. Okay? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's an experience that you had, whether it's a conversation, it's still understanding that it is a personal opinion, right? However, when you come to a place where you allow yourself to recognize the universal perspective, okay, the universal perspective is the only perspective that sees not only 360 degrees around, but they see the top, they see the bottom, they see all different degrees. It is the only perspective in existence that gives you complete knowledge, complete awareness. And that's what they were planning for. So these last 2,000 years have been laying that foundation for what's about to unfold. Now I'm sweating. Okay. So that was the easy part. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to have a sip of water. Okay. So the creator says, we're going to lay the foundation for existence, okay, simultaneously with the foundation of civilization and society. remember that society is civilized living, okay? Humans were not created to be civilized. I need you to feel that. I need you to hear that, because ancient humans were not barbaric. They didn't need to be civilized. They didn't need to be trained and taught how to eat, right? We know how to eat. Do we need to be trained to eat properly, to sit at a table? Well, you shouldn't be sitting at a table to eat. How crazy is that, right? You shouldn't be in a kitchen to eat. Your food comes from nature, and it should be ingested in nature. Why? Because it also goes through the system, and it's part of the cycle of existence. You see, humans have been trained in so many ways to lose our sense of self, to lose our awareness of our connection to the universe. Yes, but it's more than that. It's understanding that civilization is exactly what has caused you to suffer. Civilization has caused the suffering and the trauma and the continued impact that humans have chosen to carry. Chosen to carry. It's interesting. There's so much energy coming up in me. There's resistance, I will say, to feeling the energy of these beings who are here. It's extremely uncomfortable energy. But I also know, and I'm just talking with the universal beings, and I'm just wanting to clarify that that energy is going to leave just as quickly as it is going to come in, and so that I can prepare myself to allow this energy in to give you the information that you need. So I'm going to hold it so that I can share the information, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to feel the energy as well, or if you just want to hear the information. It'll be a choose your own adventure, okay? So these beings are the foundation of pain and suffering, okay? It's like the worst, if you just imagine the worst human experience you could possibly imagine. I'm just like, they're showing me like Auschwitz. They're showing me experiences where humans are like massively murdered, are dissected, beaten. It's like they don't care. And that's it's chilling, this energy, because there is no soul in these beings. There's no connection to our universe. And I need to be really, really clear here. These are not universal beings from here. They are universal beings who came from other universes, okay? And these are not like reptilians. These are not draconians. Like, reptilians and draconians came to play, but they're very highly intelligent. These beings are not highly intelligent. And if you like, when I look at the reptilians and the draconians, like, it's like they're like cats playing with their mice, but they're not mean. And I need to help you. I mean, we've had conversations with them as we go through the story of creation. You can go back and listen to them, but these beings are very different. There's a thrill when someone's suffering. There's like, yeah, it's like the taste and the smell of blood. Like they just thrive off of that. And so these are where, satanic rituals come from. And I want to be clear here that they use the word satanic in strategic with strategic force, right? Because Satan is one of the angelics who is created in this universe, okay? And they manipulate that energy, that awareness, so that people will follow them. And that's how all of this part of existence came to be. There's a lot of information that they want me to share, so I'm just accepting that these words have to come out of my mouth. So just bear with me here for a minute. We'll do the best that we can today and for part 112, and we're just going to keep on going, and which means that, yeah, it's going to be a few days of me being in this energy, but that's okay. So the truth is humanity is rising, and we are seeing more truth on a regular basis. We understand right from wrong in the core of who we are, okay? The other challenge is recognizing that as these truths are being revealed, there's going to be more unrest than there was previously. Why? Because a lot of this information is hard to digest as a human being. And that's why that was part of the foundation that was being created before, is we need to know how to come together in a healthy, balanced way with other humans so we can support each other through this, okay? So support doesn't look like, let me make you feel better. Let's talk it through. Support looks like, what do you got to say? What are you processing right now? What are you feeling? Get it out. I'm going to hold space. I'm not going to need to change your experience, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to, if it's rage and you just need to yell and you need to feel it and you need to be sad, great. I'm going to hold that space because I know we have to process these emotions, okay? That's ultimately, they're showing me that's where the spiritual movement came from, was understanding and recognizing that solid foundation of recognition of self had to come before this truth could be revealed, this level, okay? So there's little bits here and there, but we're now, so like this is bigger than ETs walking down the street, okay? This is, yeah, this is, it's funny. You know, these are the beings that there's nothing good in them. It's like their insides are filled with acid and tar. So you don't want anything to do with them. But if you're in proximity, you're stuck. Like your feet are stuck in tar. And they're so manipulative. They're like 15 steps ahead, making sure that you're going to be stuck in that tar so you can't get out. And so this is the other part right now, is being very conscious of how you're using your energy and how you're using your words moving forward, okay? Because every human, even you sitting there, okay, have and are still immersed in this civilized world that we've been trained to be in. And it is based on this, they're showing me, it's like a civilized living paradigm. And the structure is very, very simple. The structure says, once you're in, you can never get out. It's like a mausoleum. You know, it's literally like you will no longer exist in this world as a universal being. You will become it's like a pet almost, that you will become a toy and a plaything and a pet for these beings who came here to play, because guess what? This universe is designed for play, but it is not designed for this kind of play, which is why it's caused so much suffering. And so The first, we're gonna get through the first layer and the first level of awareness of what these beings created today. Um, there's a lot of layers. I don't know how many. We're gonna get through one today. Okay. It's interesting because I've never had this experience with universal beings or with any beings, even from other universes before. But I have clearly been kept far removed from these beings. Okay, so when they first came here, they saw an opportunity, and it was really simple. It was, you know, how can we make them do what we want so that they'll do what we want and we can do whatever we want? That's that's the whole premise, the foundation of their existence. How can we get them to do what we want so we can do what we want? Me, 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 me. That's it. That's their foundation of existence. The tricky part is it's woven, right, strategically through society, through civilized living. I'm just feeling the energy of how it was woven through society. And it's like, I'm seeing like ancient stone walls, ancient structures. And then I'm seeing humans moving through these structures in a way that this is what they're told. It's interesting because it's like every human is being treated like a slave. Every human has been trained like a slave and groomed. So the difference between the training and the grooming, the training aspect is, I'm going to tell you what to do and you better do it. The grooming aspect is, you're going to like it. You're going to act like you like it, whether you do or not. You're going to keep your mouth shut. And that right there, it's the, oh, okay, that's the poison right there, because that's the part that hurts the most, because you take someone's self-worth. But here's the interesting thing. Then they created, okay, follow me here. They created the divisions between, well, races, but there's only one race, it's the human race. But they created the concept, right? So the creator created every different physical body representation to strategically ensure that his creation had everything they needed to exist in a world where the world is so diverse. And he knew humans needed to be so diverse. Okay. So this organization, we're not going to name them yet. We're just going to break it down, okay? Because here's the thing. The moment you give them a name, if people start running around talking about the name, when you say someone's name, you invoke that energy. You bring it into you. We don't want that. We don't want a whole bunch of people running around going, "Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this?" No, we want people to go on, blah, blah, blah. We want people going around having conscious conversations about recognizing the layer of truth that's being revealed, but with the recognition that you're prepared to hear it now. Okay. That's what we want. And so these beings created the concept of race, inter-race, based on how humans look. And so because of that, they created the concept of hierarchy. And what's fascinating, yeah, this is okay. Here we go. They created the concept of hierarchy and put themselves at the top. It's a very small group of individuals, and they are in a position because they created that position. And they're in a position to create great harm, great suffering. And this is ultimately the power behind the one world government. We've been living in a one world government for tens of thousands of years. Okay. And the whole concept of, you know, creating this illusion that, you know, we don't want a one world government. Let's all work against it, right? But what's everyone doing is, oh, they're creating a space, right? So what they do is they send out information so that humanity, okay, is now talking about it. We're now focused on it. And what are we focused on? One world government, one world government, one world government. So what happens is we end up running around facilitating this new aspect of civilized society that they have created, okay? And so they've already done it. But you see, this is really interesting because in order for them, so for them, okay, it's already a one world government. Okay, this is super important for you to understand. There is one very small group of individuals. Like this is not nations. This is not, you know, and you know, this country doesn't get a say more than this country and this country. Right now, every country is it's an experiment. It's like a science experiment to see, oh, can we make them do this? Can we make them do this? What can we make them do over here? But it's all run by one particular, like this, it's like a handful of beings. Now, what's interesting, how did we get here, right? So this is where most people are like, Michelle, there's no way we're living in a one world government. It doesn't look like that on paper. And so this is where they're going to explain to you, like the creator is going to share like how this happened, right? So when you have a highly developed and highly intelligent race, right? Humanity. So humanity are universal beings, right? They're based on universal energy and existence. So in order to control the human race, they had to systematically and strategically break down the connection that humans have with the universe itself. Okay. And so what they did, and it's really interesting because, gosh, you can see, like when I feel it, it's like there's no such thing as time and space. So it's not like they did this a long time ago and now we're here and it's one step after another, after another, after another. It's like they go here and back and forth and front and back and forth and sideways. And because if you logically, like just think about it in your brain for a minute, okay? First and foremost, how would history be erased? Right? Like, do you need a book to tell you the life that you've lived? No, you don't. You have full awareness of the life you've lived. You may have placed parts and times that you've blacked out, but that's for a different story and that's for a different reason. And we'll get into that another time. But for the most part, we understand our history. Now, if you are close with your family, you can actually go back and talk with your family and you can get the history of their lives and go back generations, okay? And a lot of cultures, they share that. They share the generational stories and they keep them going and they keep them going. Now, there are actually, and it's very cool, we'll talk about this in the future, but there are actually humans who are still living and they've been living for tens of thousands of years. These are actually the humans who are living in the cities underneath the pyramids. And I've spoken to them, but their whole mission at this point is to hold this wisdom for human existence, okay? And so they're holding it in a place that is accessible to humans when we're ready, okay? So yes, we know there's been ground penetrating radar and all these things, and you know they want to dig it up and get to it so they can see what it is. The reality is it's going to be revealed when it's meant to be revealed, okay? But it's like, just think about that for a minute. These humans have been living for tens of thousands of years. Yes, they don't die. Because their intention is to hold that energy and hold that space. So When you have, okay, highly intelligent life force, which is humans, how are you going to manipulate them? Well, the first thing they did was create a system that we had to go through. And I know that sounds really simple, but you had to go through something to get to the destination. Because universal beings go right to the source every time. Human beings, which are universal beings, go right to the source every time. That's how we were created. When you want information, you go to consciousness, or you go to the universal being, or you go to the human being that is the source of the information that you are interested in experiencing. You go to the source. But we were trained strategically to go through something else. Now, why I'm saying something else is because sometimes it was a filter, sometimes it was a belief system, sometimes it was another human, sometimes it was a system, right? So that's how all these systems got implemented. Because what happened is the moment you teach someone that they, in order to get from A to B, they have to go through gate C. If you can allow that belief to take root in someone, they will no longer believe that they can go to A, from A to B by themselves. They will always go through C, or they will look for a route that goes around C, but they're still focused on C. And that's the point. We no longer had the capacity to go direct to wherever the source of the information, the experience is. We had to go around something else. We had to go through something else. And that's how they trained us. They're sharing, like, that's the grooming. They tailored humanity to fit their goal and their vision. Why? Because when you teach someone that they can't get the answer, the information, the experience direct, every experience, every bit of information, all of it can be controlled. All of it can be controlled. So that was the first step, the first stage of their manipulation, if you will. And now it's really interesting because I've been using the words control and manipulation for human existence for the last 20 plus years. And now, gosh, that doesn't even feel remotely capable of covering what these beings have created. Because it's not just control and manipulation. It is, it's disgusting, to be completely honest. It's disgraceful. It's like a dungeon of humans who are left in horrible situations and they just don't care. Here's the thing, is they're left in there to rot and to fester and to starve and to suffer. And most of us are thinking, maybe they'll come to their senses. Maybe they'll care. Maybe they'll come around and let us out. But the moment they put you in there, you didn't exist to them anymore. That's the point. You know, humans, if we hurt someone, we suffer. We suffer. We're thinking about what we did. We're thinking about how it impacts us. They don't. They stop. The second you're out of their mind, your existence isn't even there. It's not even on their radar. That's how despicable, but that's what I'm trying to explain, is they don't have a connection to the universe. So they don't feel your suffering. They don't allow that suffering to come into them. That's why you feel other humans when they're sad, when they're angry, when they're, going through trauma. This is why it frustrates me so much when humans walk around saying, I'm an empath and I have to control it. No. Humans are empaths because we are part of the universal existence. And your job isn't to control it. Your job is to understand how to use that power to create more freedom, to create more experiences on a universal level. That's why more people are feeling more energy now. Why? Because we've been trained and prepared for this truth to be revealed. Because as much as these nasty beings are working and hanging out, the universal beings, universal energy is still stronger. And it always will be. It can't be taken out. The foundational energies of your existence, truth, purity, joy, love, respect, compassion, balance, movement, and illumination, those are a part of who you are. Nobody can take them away from you. But they can create a filter where you believe you're not worthy of them, that you can't feel them. But they can't take them away. They're still in there. You've just turned the volume down. Right? That's all frequency and vibration is. Frequency is literally the station that you've tuned into. So if you tune into purity, you tune into joy, and then you allow the volume to rise. But most of us are too scared to even tune into it. Why? Because we're terrified to feel. Because we've been walking around feeling like we're outnumbered. That nobody understands how we feel and who we are and what's the challenges that we're facing. But we also feel that our capacity to feel is what's causing all this suffering. So we don't want to. We want to turn it off, and we want to pretend that it doesn't exist. So what do? We drink alcohol. We eat lots of rich foods. We watch television. We sit on our devices, all those technical devices, and we pretend that it's all going to be okay. Here's the truth. If we want our human existence back, if we want to restore ourselves to the original intention without this level of control and manipulation and disgustingness, we're going to have to work for it. We're going to have to put the effort in. But effort is not what you think. They've trained us to think that fighting against something is how you win a battle. It's not true. It's why they created the whole entertainment industry. The whole entertainment industry is literally based on battles and love affairs. Sometimes they smash both in together in one movie. Battles and love affairs. Why? Because battles train you to fight against something to come out a winner. And love affairs teach you that the only way that humans can work together is through sexual attraction. That's not true. Everything is about being sexually attracted. Why would they do that? Fascinating. Some of the best books ever written, when they take them to make them into a movie, all of a sudden the characters change. There has to be a love story in there. And every love story, you had the girl or the boy, you lost them, and then you had to do something to get them back. We've been bullied. This is not just trained. This is bullied into thinking the way we do. And I know most of you are thinking, I see this. I've seen all this. I know it's there. I've risen above it. I don't participate anymore. What we need right now, than anything else, and more than ever before, is we need your capacity to hold truth to come out of you. The universe, back in December 2021, changed the foundation of universal existence from a foundation of love because that was so distorted. And I give you the entertainment industry as exhibit A. And they changed it to truth. Because, again, preparing for this foundation, right? This foundational change and shift in universal existence. Because here's the thing, these beings that are here, they can't control universal beings. They can't control the universe itself, okay? The only beings that they've been able to conquer, if you will, are humans. And that's only as our physical representation. So you're more than that. You're a soul. They haven't been able to impact your soul. They haven't been able to do anything other than the human race, which is really cool and fascinating when you think about it. So their only tool exists within the physical realm. That's awesome, because that's like the creator is showing me that's important information that you need to start carrying. Okay. They've used that to make you believe that you're worthless in any other respect. That's why you don't want to feel. That's why you don't want to feel. You don't want to feel energy. You don't want to feel truth. You don't want to allow truth to come in. Okay. So ultimately, right now, humanity is, we're at a stage and a part in our evolution. Okay. And that's what they also want back to, is understanding and recognizing that in order for us to come back to our roots, it's a spiral, it's a circle. We have to go through the circle, okay? The circle is just universal awareness coming back in, right? That's why they've created, the last couple thousand years of allowing this foundation to be prepared for us, where truth has been coming, and it's been coming more and more and more. So even though we've really seen it really ramp up only in the last 80, 90 years, it's been happening for the last 2,000 years. So there's a lot of both sides. So we've got the controllers, the manipulators. So their energy has been growing in resistance to this foundation for truth being revealed. And so that's actually what's really fascinating, because you've got this very tiny group of beings, right, who are controlling the world right now. And it's funny, it's even hard for me to say those words, because I'm like, I don't want to believe it, but I can see it, universally, energetically, it's laid out in such clarity that it doesn't really matter where we live. It doesn't matter how we're living, okay? It doesn't matter if you're buying silver or if you're putting your money in a bank. It doesn't matter what country you live in, where you're, if you live where you want to live, or you live somewhere because you feel like you can't move, or maybe you've moved somewhere, you've removed yourself because you feel like you're removing yourself from different situations, okay? The reality is, the world that we live in is crumbling. The earth isn't crumbling. She's a universal being. She can't crumble as a result of a universal or as a physical representation, right? So these beings that came here to manipulate, their physical representations, they can't reach into, yes, their energy, and yes, they're from another universe, but they're not at the frequency and vibration of our universe. So that's what they're saying, is they can't touch us on soul level. They can't touch us on universal level. All they can do is play cat and mouse with us on the physical level, okay? And again, they're like, and look what we did. They're proud isn't even the word, because they don't actually care. And that's the other part, is they don't care. They're not sitting there, counting their wins. And that's what humans, that's what they've taught us to do. Count your wins so that you know how valuable you are, how successful you are. But that's not what they're doing. No, and that's not how you control humans. You control humans by creating a structure and a system that makes you believe others are counting their wins. Why? Because if you think other people are counting their wins, you're going to be consistently competing against them. You're going to be focused on them again. They could care less. They do something and they move on to the next thing. They're not thinking, wow, I did this last week and it was good or it was bad. They have literally forgotten it. It doesn't exist. They're such simple beings. And this is the part that you have to understand. So when you see people who do things in the world that they don't feel like they have any remorse, it feels like there's no soul in them, it's because there isn't. Okay. And you're not going to see a ton of them. Well, we're going to see them more coming out, but I mean, more, again, it's like a handful compared to the 8 billion humans on Earth. Okay. This is not, widespread in every community. No, they don't need to do that. Because when you control the governments of every country, you control the entire population of the country, which means you control the entire population of the earth because they control every government in existence. Do they even need to have their people in the government? No, because they've trained the governments to do their jobs. So I don't want you walking around thinking all of these guys are just going to start coming out of the woodwork and it's going to be creepy as hell. No. But every once in a while, you'll come across one. You may never come across one, but you may come across them in the news. You may come across them, and they don't put them in the news very often, but when they do it very strategically. They do it in a way that says, don't ever do what this person did because they're bad. And you feel it because your instincts know. And then the entire world starts to talk about how bad that person is. Sound familiar right now? Because if you start thinking that that person's so bad, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be wanting to be part of the army that takes that person down. Whether they're alive still or dead, that's all an illusion as well. Because, yeah. It's interesting because resurrection, and I'm using that word very strategically, which means basically they cease to exist, but they can pop up again instantaneously. And that's the difference, right? Whereas humans in this world, like we have to come through the birth process for the most part. Yes, I know there's some walk-ins. I'm not trying to, discount that. But again, we've got like, I don't know, less than 500, maybe 1,000 walk-ins and then on the entire planet right now. So you can see it's not very many when you've got a population of 8 billion, right? So these beings in particular can die because, again, they don't die like we do. It's just done and they move on. They don't have any thought. Right? They're not thinking, oh gosh, I miss my last life. Oh, I miss my mother, my brother, my sister. They don't care. They don't have any feelings. They don't feel joy. They don't feel love. They don't feel compassion, purity. They don't feel any of it. They don't feel anything. And that's the point. There is no energy running through them like there is in you. That's why it's so hard for you to understand what's actually going on right now and the truths that are being revealed, because you're still filtering them through your understanding of who you are as a human. And your brain is like, well, I would never do that to somebody else. You're right, because you exist on a universal level. They don't. And why have they trained us to think this way, that everybody exists the same way? So that you're still sitting over here going, well, how could they do that? And how much time do you spend having conversations going, how could that person do that? Right. And what did that create in society? A whole lot of judgment. And they were like, that's fantastic. Let's introduce the whole religious system of the savior and the creator, but we'll call him God. And then we'll call him a whole bunch of different things. And we'll have everybody fight over whose God is better and whose perspective is better. Because now we'll have, one like the Bible, and it can have how many different, religious perspectives and beliefs, and they use the same book. It'll be fantastic. And then they're all going to fight against each other, and we'll just sit and watch. And it's literally like an ant farm to them. Humans and humanity all at once. Humanity is like an ant farm to them. They could care less what happens. And the crazy thing is, humans would care about what happens to the ants inside. And maybe you've become so numb you don't want to feel. And you just think, whatever. We're going to keep going with this. It's definitely a harder conversation in many ways. Mostly is because getting into that energy and really holding space with it enough to bring the full level of truth to you is super uncomfortable. But it's also important. And I see, and they've prepared me for this. And I know that all of humanity, you've been prepared to see it and to understand it. And we've all been preparing in our own ways. Okay? We're going to reveal a lot more. But what we're going to be doing is revealing the structure of this society and this civilized living that they created, because it's the structure that's the most important. Again, it comes back to they use these strategies, they use these plans and this paradigm that humans don't work within. We are really not, that's not native to us. It's not natural, right? We are literally explorers, where we go out and explore the potential of existence, or the potential of ourselves, the potential of nature. And we all exist in a balanced, it's like understanding we're self-healing and we're everything, we're self-governing, but we also recognize that every aspect of existence is the same, self-governing, self-healing. And we don't want to change anything, but we've been trained to change everything, right? We change the earth to suit our purposes every single day, instead of communicating with the earth and asking how we can co-create together, how we can explore our potentials and ensure that it will benefit both of us. But we build buildings, we build houses, we do whatever we want. And again, why? Because it's all based on a system that is the financial system. When you own something, you feel like you can do whatever you want to it. That's what those beings did. They can do whatever they want. That's how they act. That's how they participate in the world. And that's how humans are walking around, is I need more so I can do whatever I want, without caring of the impact that you have. We're going to go bigger, but I think we're going to hold there today because it's a lot. And the energy is, well, it's just going to keep going because this has to get out. So I really appreciate you watching. I know some of this may be confusing and may be hard to accept, but I also know that as a whole, as a race, humanity is ready. And maybe, just maybe, all of this made sense to you. And it put into perspective exactly how you've been feeling for maybe your entire life. Because I know it did for a lot of things in me. And it also made me feel really uncomfortable in certain areas, but only when I was feeling these beings and their, it's not even distaste for humans, it's complete disregard for existence. Anyways, I thank you. And if you want to watch the entire Story of Creation series from the beginning, click the button. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.